Hello, I am Bentham. Welcome back to Factorio Towns. In the previous episode, we set up the new science town. We've got the station in place and the smelting of the iron and copper deposits. So today we're going to set up all the assemblers and the labs required to get some science actually running. We do have the ability to do a little bit of science right now because there's some research that requires alien signs but not blue signs, so we can get that up and running and have some research going while we start work on the blue science outpost. Or town. I keep calling them outposts because that was what the term I always used in Rail World. But yes, when we build the Blue Science town, we should hopefully have this town operating anyway. So I set up my basic column. It's got 5 assemblers for green signs, 4 for red, and 1 for alien. That usually seems to work out. Sometimes you need like a second one for alien signs. But then that's usually because I put productivity modules in the alien signs, so perhaps I won't need it this time. And then for that, we're going to have 10 labs, and this is the ratio that usually works out for me. I've never properly checked like the times and stuff, and part of the reason for that is that it's a bit difficult to do because different research takes different amounts of time, so it always ends up not quite working out. So if you get exactly the right amount, then there will be times where it's not enough. But I think there's sort of a standard research time which is like 30 seconds or a minute or something like that most research adheres to, and that this system seems to have more than enough for, and then when it comes to needing a bit more, there should be a little extra available. I might put some buffers in this so that there's a bit more flexibility in that, so that the science can build up a bit more before the more difficult bits of research come along. But we'll see about doing that later. In the meantime, we have the stuff set up now, and because I have a little bit of research, well, a little bit in the way of science packs in my inventory, I can get the science packs onto the system right away, because when we deconstructed the old science setup in the main base, there were plenty of red and green science packs just sort of lying around, so we've got those in place, and then I can set up the production of the alien science packs. All it takes is a chest that we can put some alien artifacts in, and then the alien science will get produced, 10 per artifact, which is excellent, and that will allow us to start doing some rocket research, which is now slowly progressing in the top right. So we can put in some defences, probably a good idea because there are biters quite close to this, and it will be producing some pollution, so the pollution will spread a little bit further. Not sure how much further, but it'll probably reach some of the biter bases down in the south there, so we'll keep an eye on that, keep this place defended, and as soon as possible we'll get the remainder of the outpost properly walled off and armed and so on. But at the moment we don't have enough in the way of stone bricks to make all of the walls we need to. But now I'm going to work on the actual the production, so that we can get the green science packs and the red ones actually being made. So we need copper and gears for the red science packs, and we need inserters and belts for the green. And it works out really well actually, because it's one belt each. And I can use a different system to usual, which I'm quite happy about, because usually when you're building any sort of science system, it's part of a factory that's going to become larger, and you have to make plans for later additions to it. You have to make plans for blue signs being added in, and all sorts of stuff like that. But with it being towns, there are multiple cases where I know exactly what a system is going to contain as soon as I build it for the first time, which means I can build it in a much more specialized way. So usually this would be part of a main bus, but because I know exactly what is required for the science packs, I can just have the 2 lines, one with the supplies for red and one with the supplies for green, and then connect it up in a super efficient way and only have as much in the way of assembly as I need. And that's really awesome actually. It means I can make all sorts of new different designs that I haven't before and make them a lot more efficient and stuff, because I don't need to leave room for expansion. So I know that I'll only ever need one assembler for the belts and the inserters, so I can set up a little system like that where there's just this underground belt that comes in, and that will supply the iron and the gears, and then we just need a quick belt that supplies the circuits to the production of inserters, and there we go, it's all operational. The only thing that we're missing now is a supply of circuits. We need to get a train delivering those in, but in the meantime I can put a little bit in the way of circuits into the system just so that it's got a little bit to run on, because I do have a stack of something like 80 in my inventory, so we'll put half of that into there, and that starts getting fed into the assembler. So there we go, we have red and green signs being produced, so we can, well, not quite leave it to its devices, because we want to fairly soon sort out a circuit supply. Also, I'm noticing that the iron supply doesn't seem to be doing very well. I don't know whether it just needs some time to build up, but at the moment it seems like there isn't enough. It's all being turned into gears, and the gears don't seem to be filling up particularly much. But we'll leave it for a while, come back once things have had a time to settle down, and see if it was just taking a while to build up properly. And if it was, then we just, well, no, if it wasn't, then we can just add a couple of extra furnaces and miners in, and it's no problem. So you can see that the science packs are building up. I think the red ones and the alien ones are, but the green ones are not. They've unfortunately stopped because it didn't. The circuits that we provided did not last long. So we'll go sort out the train next, having a quick check of the map, looking at things. And before we go, we are going to make use of what remaining stone brick we have to put in as much in the way of walls as we can. There's another attack over on the west portion of Chipton. We'll go and check up on that in a minute. It should be fine. But it's of course coming from that base in the to the northwest of the Science Town that we just can't deal with until we've got better stuff researched. I mean, at the moment we are researching rockets, so it's possible that we'll be able to take them out with rockets. I've never really used them very much, but I imagine they would be quite helpful. I think the range is fairly decent, and it does a large amount of damage in a short amount of time. So it's sort of, I guess it's good for hit and run attacks. So we could perhaps try. Well, I guess we can't drive it in the car unless we hopped out to fire the rocket, but we'll work something out. Anyway, I set off the train, and I was going to ride it until I remembered that I want to take the car with me, because we have some resupplying to do. So I parked the train up in Southbridge, and we'll leave it for now. For a moment I get confused and think that we need to get the circuits from Redport, so I end up journeying over to Redport just to check on things, and realising that there is actually no need to. But before we do that, I've noticed that the coal supply is running out in Southbridge, but only in terms of what we're actually mining. So I will expand our little mining outpost here. We've only got 4 drills at the moment. I think we had, it was either 6 or 7. And considering that this supplies the entirety of, well, not the entirety, but a large portion of the power supply and also the production of plastic, we want to keep an eye on this and make sure it is working well. In fact, at some point I'll probably just mining drill the whole thing, so that it'll just be able to run without my input for a while. There'll only still be like 3 miners running at any one time, but it means that once they run out, there'll be more to take their place. For the moment, I'll just add a couple more on, a little bit of expansion to the walls. At some point, we will properly encase Southbridge in walls, but for now, we've not bothered with it. So there we go, we've got 7 of them now. I'll quickly connect up the belts, and that will be fine. Annoyingly, these ones that I've just connected up will now run out first, because they're on the end of the line, and they'll stop the other ones from working. I need to sort of pay more attention to how that works out, because it means that you end up with like a gap in the middle of your deposit, where the mining drills that you built first are still there, and the more recent mining drills have run out, and then you end up with different sections you have to keep an eye on. Whereas it would be better to slowly work your way through the deposit. Anyway, we've gone over to the west part of Chipton, check on the situation. We've got a mining drill run out, nothing much is going on. The filtering system is pretty much at a standstill because there's not enough coal being used, because it only supplies the trains now rather than any smelting. And the guns seem to be pretty much fine. There's a little bit of damage on both of them. Well, I said there's 3. There's a little bit of damage on 2 of the 3, so I decide to put some walls around those, and I also make sure to resupply things. And that should be fine. The badges don't seem to be doing that much damage, so we can probably just leave this to fend for itself. And we won't have well, too much trouble there. There is only one biter base, I think, that's attacking at the moment, so as long as we keep on top of the rest, the attacks will be very rare and not particularly big. But anyway, while we're here, I decide to extend the rails a bit more. There's nowhere in particular that these are going to right now, but I imagine at some point we'll end up with some towns over in the west that we will have some need to go to, and this will probably be the line that takes us there, unless it's the far northwest that we're going to. In which case we'd probably have it extend from Redport. Anyway, while we're here, we do have a little bit left in the way of stone. I'm not sure why I didn't use this to make stone bricks for to make the walls actually while I was still in the Science Town. But anyway, we can use them to do a little bit more flooring there. Though we're still not done with it. We're getting little bits done every time we go past, and that's sort of a problem that we've got with the towns that we built before we started making concrete and before we decided on the design that we were going to use for the rails. Because whenever I build a new town, I make sure to properly floor the whole thing, but the old towns are just sort of like doing little bits whenever I drive past on a resupply run. So it's getting done very slowly. Eventually Chipton will be done. Most of it is already concreted. It's just the rails themselves and the bits around that that need some work. Anyway, we're back in the main base as well, resupplying. on iron and copper and such. We've got, I think we're down in pretty much everything at the moment because we made a bunch of turrets, and they use up quite a lot of your supplies. And then we go over to Redport, where I run in expecting to resupply on something before I realise that there's actually nothing to resupply on. I'm already fully, I'm already sorted in terms of advanced circuits, I think. I'm not sure if I had a full stack, but it wasn't worth getting any more out anyway. So while I'm here, I also check on the stone miners while I'm waiting for the train to turn up, because we want to see what the situation is with the current train that delivers circuits around. Also, I'm going to add in a belt bouncer there, because there's no reason not to. And when I check up on the train, I decide that we are not going to use it for delivering the circuits around, because it's already got 3 different towns that it goes to, and its journey will get quite a bit complicated if we add another one in. Also, it'll start flipping about each time it goes around, so every time it arrives in like Redport and the other one, Frackham, it will be the opposite way around than it was previously, which will be awkward. So we'll not bother with that. That can just continue with its own job, and we'll have a different train that is just going to deliver circuits between Chipton and the Science Town. It will probably gain more jobs later, because it might go to like the Blue Science Town or something like that. We'll work it out as we go. That's how it's going to be. There's going to be times where we overhaul all the trains and completely rearrange how they all work. So for now, we can just like add in a train when we feel like we should, and use a previously established train when we think otherwise. And it will get messy, and there will be a time when we fix it all. So anyway, we've got a bunch more walls being made, and we've also got a bunch more turrets, but I've realised that I didn't resupply on ammo, so I'll quickly hop back over to the main base and grab some there. Eventually this will go. I keep saying this, at some point this will be got rid of. Probably once I have... Well, so, I need a steel town and a copper town and a stone town. There's so many. They're like little towns that just like each one of them takes a little bit of the production that's in the main base. But we have been slowly phasing it out. At one point, science was there, and we've now got a science town doing the research separately. Anyway, I crash into multiple rocks as I make my way back, and I have to repair my car as soon as I get back, because it's got a lot of stuff in there. I really don't want to lose it, and crashing into a couple too many rocks can very quickly destroy it. So we'll start work on putting in the walls, and also the guns. Unfortunately, we have to sort of make it as wider than I'd like to. The thing is that the 2 deposits are sort of they're too far away to like make a sort of permanent town this big. But they're also not far away enough to like have them outside the walls. Like in Chipton, I have the iron deposit outside the walls because it's too far away. But these are a bit too close. But what it means is that once they've run out, I'll just shrink the town and bring the walls into where the production is, rather than leave an empty space where the ore is. So for now, these are going to be walled, but I'm not going to bother flooring them. I'm just going to floor the central bit, and at some point this will be cut back, and the town will be made a fair bit shorter. Smaller. Which sort of makes sense, really, as if its mining industry dies, it will lose some people and stuff like that, as it tries to recover by switching industries and things like that. So anyway, let's have a look at the name list for this town. I have a list here of 79 names. I think I'm actually missing a few. There were a couple more that were suggested after I made the list. I really should have added to them, so I apologise to those who posted names a little bit too late. But I'm liking the range of different ideas we had from this. Also, there were a lot of sort of clever things that you wouldn't even like realise from the initial name. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to communicate all those, but there were a lot of them where the justification for the name turned out to be a lot more interesting than expected initially. But anyway, let's go through the list. So we've got R&D, standing for Rails and Death, Stark R&D, RIM for Research in Motion, RGB, but the word RGB rather than the acronym, if you call it an acronym. I guess it is one. Aperture Labs, Apertureton, Generic Locomotive and Direct Offloading System, also known as GLaDOS, Gladysshire, Spectrum Mesa, Train Mesa, Beaker City, Beakershire, Conicleton, Labbington, Labberton-on-Key, Labridge, Labcaster, Labden Bridge, Lab on the Sands, Labworth, Labrador, Thinker-on Labs, Bentham Labs, Mangledpork Industries, Mangled Science Central, Steejo Corp, Elysium, Techion's Academy, the Library, the Institute, Factorio Institute of Science, Science Fair, Science Central, Area 7, Warehouse 0, Newtown, Newton Falls, Nicolia, Teslean, Einstown, Editon, Turing Falls, Babbage's Last Stand, Codport, Heisenberg, Atlantis, Bakersfield, Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Silicon Valley, Kenridge, Oakridge, Oregon, Orfordness, Porton Down, Cephirburg, Brycaster, Fort Mind, or to sound Welsh but not actually be Welsh, Caermynd, Rechurch, as in research, Quarksville, Techville, Flaskmere, Greedford, Biterford, Spitterford, Colians, Innovativille, Nutshell, Eureka, Knowledge, the Periodic Table, Squared Lap, Spectra, Saharan Science, Sandustry, and Unicorn Barf. So there we go, 79 names, and one of those I have now chosen. It was quite difficult. I was very indecisive about these. I ended up making a short list and having to pick from those, but I eventually made my decision. But anyway, we're making our way now back up to Colbury to resupply. We've got a bunch more done in the way of walling and I think also flooring. But we've run out, so we'll go grab a bunch more from the production we've got going here. I'm getting more worried that we're going to run out of stone again, just because of how much we need to put down each time. I mean, I've got... I just harvested 1,600, I think, from the supply there, and some of it goes into concrete though, and then we get twice as much concrete for the stone that we've got, which is good. Also, I hop back over to the main base to resupply a little bit more on iron, copper, steel, gears, and ammo, things like that. Also trying to cut down on how much steel is actually stored in the main base, because at some point we'll have a new steel town spring up. And at that point we'll need to get rid of all the steel that's over here. We can put some of it into furnaces and things like that, but we'll try and reduce the amount that's being stored. So it was 16 stacks and it's now 10, and we'll continue, I guess, trying to cut it down. Though not too much, because then we won't have enough to actually do any building. So anyway, we've got a bunch more in the way of flooring, so we'll make our way back to the Science Town so that we can finish off the all of the flooring necessary. I've made myself a little bit of a gate in the southeast bit so that we can drive straight through. I might mark that, because I usually do mark the gates with some concrete so I can tell where they are and not hit the wall instead of the gate itself. Anyway, we can finish filling in this bit, and this marks the dimensions that the town will have once the ore runs out. That's what we'll cut the walls back to when that time comes. Or at least that's the plan. But things may not work out quite to plan, because I sort of, as it will turn out, I've messed up some of the design. But anyway, we're putting in the stone now. We've managed to fill in that bit with the concrete, though we are very low on concrete now. Hopefully we'll have enough to do the last little bits that we have around the edges of the actual rail lines. Also having a quick check of the map to try and remember how I do things in the other towns, because I'm still sort of indecisive about some parts of it, like having whether I should have stone or a gap between the two lines when they're inside the towns. And in some of them there is a gap between them, and in others like this one there isn't, so I'm still sort of choosing which way I'm going to go with that. But anyway, we're putting in these last little diagonal bits here, and then we'll put in the remaining bits of concrete and see if we've got any left for it, because it's always more than you expect. I mean, I think there's like more than 100 definitely being used to fill all these bits in, because the thing is, each each 5x5 square is 25 of it, so you run out of it surprisingly quickly. But anyway, we appear to have enough, so we'll finish off these bits here. And there we go. That is all of the town that will eventually be inside the walls. And so the only thing we have left to do in the way of flooring is put in the nameplate. So I will announce the name that I've chosen. It was very difficult, and I'll probably even mention a couple that I nearly went with. So we'll put in the background bit, which gives us some more concrete with which to do the name. And the name I have chosen, if I can get the S's right, which I keep having trouble with. I keep trying to do them more wavy, and it turns out not to work on this sort of scale. But the name that I have chosen is Flaskmere, suggested by David B. He did actually suggest a sort of Welsh style of naming it, where it would have been spelt FFLASG. But I decided to go for the normal one, because he was sort of imagining it as being in the southwest it would be a Welsh name, but I decided to make it a more standard one, a specifically English one, which is more in the style, well, it's more reminiscent of the Lake District in the northwest. So there we go, Flaskmere. And yeah, one of the other names that we had, I very nearly went for Newton. And in fact, if Flaskmere hadn't been a name, I probably would have called it Newton. And that may yet be the name of the Blue Science Town. We'll see how that goes. I guess probably next episode I'll start work on that, and then we can have the suggestions for that one. And the one problem with the name is that there is no mere here. A mere is a large flat body of water, like a really shallow one, such as Windermere in the Lake District, which is why it's sort of reminiscent of that. And there's none of that nearby. I mean, there's a lake a little bit to the south, but I guess you could instead say that there's a large, shallow body of sand that we're on the edge of, so maybe that counts. But yes, we now have the science operational. All we need to do is get blue science, and we can get a bunch more research done. But anyway, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.